We'll look at a number of different graphs in this course for visualizing quantitative data, but for right now, we're just going to talk about a histogram just to view a single example of this. So now what we're doing is representing quantitative data, not qualitative data. And we want to reference this one because histograms and bar charts at a glance can look very similar. But one of the key things that we can pick up on is that in the case of our histogram, the bars are touching, versus in the bar chart, not always, but generally we include space between those different categories. And if we look along the x-axis, the bottom axis, we see with the bar chart, we're indicating the different categories that people responded, the different ways people responded, versus with a histogram, we have numerical values along the x-axis. That means that in this case, instead of each bar representing a category, each bar represents a range of values, and we refer to that range as the bin width. In this case, our histogram has a bin width of 10, so responses between 0 and 10 fall into this first bar, responses between 10 and 20 fall into the second bar, and that's how we represent this information. In this case, specifically, we're dealing with data that was collected on the number of credit hours completed by 64 students at a community college. Something that's important to note is that bin width is up to us, or whoever creates the histogram, to decide what it should be. In this case, a bin width of 10 was used. That's a pretty common way to break up information into groups of 10. But in this case, we might want to consider a bin width of something like 12, since that represents the equivalent of one full-time semester of college coursework. So rather than showing us who completed between 0 and 10 hours of credits, we would see who's completed at least one full-time semester, at least 2 full-time semesters. So it would be showing us a slightly different picture. Or we could break it up with a bin width of 30, which is how many credit hours you need for the equivalent of 1 year of college coursework. Since it's 60 hours for an associate's degree, 120 hours for a bachelor's degree, that's a quarter of the way. So we could see how many people are a quarter of the way to a bachelor's degree, half their way to a bachelor's degree, and so on. But the distinction again being that with a bar chart, we are representing qualitative data. Each bar reflects a different category, a different type of response. With a histogram, each bar, that width represents a range of values, with the height still indicating how many people or what percent of people fell into that category. So what percent or how many people have completed between 0 and 10 credit hours of college coursework.